Hey everyone, and today we're looking at episode 8 of the plugin sessions, and it is Data Life Endless Smile. Pretty crazy plugin released many years ago. I don't even know how long I've had it at this point, but before we even dive in, I use this in every session. Now, there might be some guys out there that are completely against a plugin like this. I can understand that because I will admit years ago when it came out, I was like, come on, this is too easy, something simple. But now years later, when I'm producing X amount of records a week where time is, always fighting against everybody, anything I can find to speed up a workflow, to help with automation transitions, and just help me complete a record quicker, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use it. I'm not going to fight that process. I think you guys, depending where you are creatively and where you are as a producer, don't fight, finding things that help you speed up and help you get things going a little quicker. So let's take a look at the plugin. Anyone unfamiliar with it, it's the simplest of laid out plugins. That's why I love it. Data Life, they're great producers. They're both really, really funny guys. They have great personalities, and that's why, their plugins have this type of image going on where without using it, you're sad and down. With using it, you're happy and you have an endless smile. Pretty great idea if you ask me. Again, there might be some haters out there that are against a plugin like this. I understand it. One of my buddies gave me this plugin years and years ago when it first came out, and I have not fought the process of using it. I love it. And again, probably in every single record of mine. Now, how I use it, guys, before we jump in, I use it on groups a lot. So use this as an automation tool, transitions, build-ups, going from a verse to a chorus, from a drop to maybe a verse where it kind of calms down. Really understand what you can do automation-wise, because again, this is a time saver plugin. Realistically, 5-6 years ago, whenever it was, I was using a bunch of EQs, a bunch of reverbs, filtering, volume, all this different stuff that I had to do at once, 6-7 automations where I can kind of control the idea of that, closer to the idea of that with one knob, with one setting. And that's the idea of this plugin. Really, really nice. And again, I use it on groups. So what they have for presets, guys: Fist and Air, the first one, more of an reverb automation washout. They then have the helium jumping, which is going to be more of a delay. Let's hear those in context actually as I'm talking. This is my record U. So if you guys saw the earlier episode of this week, this is the same record where I used this. Okay, so that was the reverb washout on the vocals. So that's on the group there. Again, going to the helium one, it's going to bring delay with the washout. You can almost hear that eighth repetition of the delay. The no limit one, let's see how that's bringing in. What it's introducing, guys, each time is a further washout. So when you get to the end one, Data Life combined everything into delay, into extreme EQing, extreme filtering, and then, to the 100% of intensity being a full washout. So the no limit one is a more harsher EQ, cutting out lows. Compared to the other ones, it's a slower washout. Let's go to Face Melting Joy. That's now adding the initial reverb washout, the eighth note washout, the more extreme EQ. So now it's getting a bit more intense. The smack in the face can have everything with a bit of a drastic EQ filtering. So it's doing everything with the extreme EQ. This is probably the most characteristic sounding washout of Endless Smile. You guys have probably heard this in endless amount of records, that people need to automate this a bit more to make it not so noticeable. You know, if you're using it on a master channel, which is absolutely okay, I don't like doing too much of this preset because it's the most noticeable, just my personal preference. So that one's probably the most common one you'll hear, the broken teeth one. So that's adding the smack in the face with a really, really drastic low cut, thinning out to extreme washout. And lastly, the Dada Dynamite is every single thing we just heard together. I don't really use too much of the medium to extreme ones because they're a bit more noticeable. That's up to you guys, and I think it depends on what you're using it on. If you're using this on a master channel, it's going to be very, very apparent to your listeners because, you know, as you know, it's combining everything that's in the record. So sometimes using this on groups, you guys can get a bit more of a hidden automation, if that makes sense. So where I'll use that on top of the vocals, as you guys heard there, is going to the build. So in my build up here, we have pianos and effects. I'll go on my effects group and kind of thin all of those out to the build up. Okay, let's go to this drop group. Something I always do, guys, again, years ago I would do a lot of filtering, I would do a lot of automation with volume, a lot of just EQ stuff that I can kind of get away with if I'm trying to speed up the project with using Endless Smile. And I'm only on the startup preset, the soft one, Fist in the Air. Right before verse 2 comes in, I'm going to just automate out everything here in the drop. And that's going to take away the lows of the bass. It's going to take the lows of the brass, etc. Adding a little reverb washout. Be careful with how much you do this because you don't want it to be too noticeable. You want to just add this value to the listener and to the record without kind of being too over the top with it. That sounds great. And guys, take notice too when you're messing with the presets. I'm not going to go through every single preset for every sound. You guys get the idea. Rinse and repeat when you kind of find something that works. But make sure, I have on my notes, having an EQ or maybe a filter underneath this. For me, I just kind of will throw on a DJM or a simple filter to control stuff. Because you'll notice specifically a preset like Smack in the Face here, you're going to want to control what it's adding a bit more. For example, you know, you're getting that recognizable character sound that they added there on the washout. So sometimes I will low cut, high cut that a bit more. Right? Something like that, because I don't want my listeners to pick up on it. And that's only 2 tools that we've added on. Again, years ago, doing 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 possible plugins. Now I can do it with 1 or 2. That's really a time saver for me. It's quite incredible. So I'll keep that just on the soft mode for the washout of the drop group. If we go up to the effects I showed over here, if we want to hear that real quick. When those are going out. And maybe the effects, you want to try the Smack in the Face preset. You can hear that kind of coming in there. It's a bit more subtle on effects because they're such a thin sound. They're so high-end heavy that you're not going to notice that type of preset versus something fuller like the bass group, drop group like I showed there. Another thing I like doing, guys, is perk groups. You guys can see over here on my verse 2. I'm doing that filtering I just showed. As the build comes up towards drop 2, I brought the perks in on when that chorus drop hit. So I wanted to fade them away enough so that just wasn't constant tops. It wasn't constant percussion towards the drop because they're coming right back in. It's a good automation to keep your listener interested. And it's two automation pieces that I'm doing here, guys. It's not, rocket science doing something like this, but it sounds much better and it tricks the listener to variety in the record. Even when it's playing the vocals, you can mess with the automation there during the drop. It's not always 100% a transition piece. Sometimes it's an enhancement piece in a specific part of a drop. For example, right here, maybe I can add delays coming in before the next section. Don't be afraid to add more than one instance, guys. If I want to have the delay function of the one I just added, but also have maybe that smack in the face one that that's really apparent, maybe I can add both together. It's definitely hands down the most simple tool, the simplest of tools, if I can say that right, that I've ever come across that makes a huge change. A drastic time saver is why I wanted to just throw this plugin up on my channel. I'm sure 90% of producers watching right now have either heard of this or are currently using it, but I want you guys to kind of go the extra mile with where this can be used. Not only build-ups, not only master channel. You guys can see I have this on my master for this specific record. I did not use it, but I had it there just to kind of see if it would work out. But don't always use things where they're, you're kind of told you have to use them there, or people say, hey, I only use it on my master. I use it as just the build tool. Go the extra mile of using it as a transition piece, automating it from, again, the verse to the build up, and maybe I'm adding a bit more washout on the vocals than the vocals here, verse here, right? You're going to get a different feel to the record with such a simple tool with one knob, one setting, rather than doing 100 different things and 100 different plugins. Just think outside the box there. Make sure you guys are controlling EQ and filtering with the plugin itself. If you're just kind of letting it hang over, for example, here on the drop group, if you're kind of letting this wash right over, this is going to realistically have a release that's held out. So the reverb or delay or whatever function you have is going to hold out. Right? It's carrying over. So that's why I would recommend having a DJM or some sort of filter underneath to either shut that down, high cut, low cut, whatever you're using, but make sure you're trying that out because you want to also control what this is adding, whether it be an EQ, a filter, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Even if you want to just do volume automation, that's going to work for you too. So simple plugin review today, guys, with Endless Smile from Dada Life. I'm sure a lot of you are using it. It's not a massive plugin look wise and parameter wise, but it does things and changes the sound massively, if that makes sense. So give it a try if you haven't already. Reach out with questions, guys. Throw me some comments down below. If you're liking the videos, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I will catch you guys next week. Take care. See you soon.